So now we can go for the second poem, An Elementary School Classroom in Islam. So an elementary school classroom in Islam, this poem has connectivity with our second lesson last spring. So last spring, first part, sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. So you can also, the rag pickers and their life, 10,000 children are, rag pickers, like they are also losing the childhood days. That's why that lesson is named like last spring. Spring means the childhood days. And of course second part, I want to drive a car, that is related to bangle making community. And Mukesh, he's from bangle making community, and he was a bangle maker who lost his childhood days. That's what two things, bangle making and 20,000 children, those who are working in dingy hills, or we are saying that hard furnaces and losing their childhood days. So here something is related to poverty, of course poverty stricken, which is totally ruining the children, those who are from some selected communities, like that's why here slum, while reading the topic, an elementary school classroom in Islam. So we could also identify something related to that. So that's why here, before you read, have you ever visited or seen an elementary school in Islam? What does it look like? That's why already we have discussed much more than required. So here we have to go and visit, then we will come to know that how much they are all suffering, how much they are all suffering. And of course the poverty plays a vital role in their life. That's why they didn't have they are not getting sophisticated life, worldly things were mentioning that worldly things are sophisticated life or adequate facilities. You understand, for an example, a quality education is also a facility, right? So how much they are all suffering, we are going to have that experience here. Before entering into the poem, we can also have a glance who's our poet, Stephen Spender. So here's Stephen Spender, 1909 to 1995, was an English poet and an essayist, and he left University College, Oxford, without taking a degree and went to Berlin in 1930. And Spender took a keen interest in politics and declared himself. He announced himself to be a socialist and pacifist. So already told you socialist. Maybe we can take that social activist, and of course pacifist means who is a peace lover, or we can say that peacemaker. So he was like he just became a social activist or peacemaker. By books by Stephen Spender include, you can also see that, Poems of Dedication, The Edge of Being, The Creative Element, The Struggle of the Modern World, and of course an autobiography, then World Within World. So in an elementary school classroom in Islam, he has concentrated. He is just giving the pressure. Something is just addressing that two things. He has concentrated on themes of social injustice. You know what is the meaning? Social injustice, and of course some immoral activities. So social injustice, and of course class inequalities. We know what is the meaning class, and of course caste system, and of course inequality. So discrimination based on social injustice and class inequalities. That's why they are all their life is being ruined by all those things, whatever it is. For an example, social injustice and class inequality. So we can also see the poem, the primary reading of the poem. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round the pallor, the tall girl with her weight downhill, the paper seeming boy with the rat's eyes, the standard unlucky higher up twister bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lessons from his desk. At back of the dim class, one unnoted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in tree room other than this. The second stanza. On sour cream walls, donation Shakespeare said, tall as a dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, bell flowery Triolus valley. Open-ended map awarding the world its world. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all the futures painted with the fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. And the third stanza. Surely Shakespeare is wicked, the map a bad example, with ships and love tempting them to steal. For lives that slyly turn in the cramped holes from fog to endless night. On days like heaps, these children were skins picked through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass, like bottle bits and stones. All of the time and space are foggy slum. So blot the maps with the slums as big as doom. The fourth stanza, primary reading. Unless governor, inspector visited, this map becomes the window, and these windows that shut upon their lives like catacombs. Break or break, open till they break the town, and show the children to green fields, and make the world run azure on gold sands, and let the tongues run act into birds. The white and the green leaves Green leaves, open history, Jesus language is a sun. So this is a primary reading of the poem. When we go to the first stanza, you can also underline, you can also understand. The poet described the pathetic and miserable condition of the children, those who are sitting inside the classroom in a slum. This is what they are far away. They are far away from. They are totally far away from the beautiful side of the nature. That's why here he was just mentioning that they are far away from gusty waves, these children's faces. So here you can also see that the poet describes the pathetic and miserable condition of the children sitting in the classroom in a slum. So slum, that's why you have to remember that slum whenever until we complete the poem. So they are far from gusty waves. You understand that here gusty waves, already told you that gusty waves means here we are taking that maybe windy, or we can go for something breezy. Here windy or breezy, here totally we can go for the sophistication, sophistication of facilities or richness in the worldly things. And they are far away from these children's faces. That's why here, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, they are far away from all those worldly things the normal children are having and enjoying. That's why children's faces, while looking, they are totally dull. While looking at their face, they are look weak and hungry. And of course, like rootless weeds, you understand, like here, similarly, the poet has cleverly used that like rootless weeds. And of course, while reading that, the hair torn round a pallor. So yeah, right, like rootless weeds, what is the meaning weeds? Unwanted plant, of course, without root also. So they are like abandoned, or we are saying that given up. So these children's faces like a rootless weeds. And of course, inside the classroom, it is like description about the class. And of course, inside the classroom, those were sitting and their images. And of course, he is just describing that. And inside the class, in a class, the hair torn round the palate. That means untied. You can also underline that their unkempt hair looks like rootless weeds on the pale pieces. You can also connect with the previous sentence. So here they are far away from the gusty waves, and of course, and their image and their hair torn round a pallor like rootless weeds. And of course, inside the class, there was a girl, the tall girl with her weight downwards. She was totally depressed with her sad thoughts. That's why here the poet mentioning that inside the classroom there was a girl. He was tall enough, of course, the tall girl with her weight downward. You can also underline the weight head, weight down in the sense totally filled with depression. That's why she was unable to feel happy, and she was sitting with weight downward. She just of course kept like that. And she keeps her head down, being burdened by sad thoughts. This is what the poet wants to convey with that particular tall girl's image. So here the tall girl with her weight down head. And of course, next one is the paper seeming boy with the rat's eyes. Another, totally, I already told you that related to malnutrition. Of course, poverty stricken they are from. So by that malnutrition, the paper seeming boy, you can also underline. You can, while looking at the boy sitting in the class is as thin as paper. You can also underline the word as thin as paper. That's why he was looking like a paper. That means he was lean and lanky, and he was totally weak and hungered. That's why the paper seeming boy with the rat's eyes. That's why we can also see his eyes are like rat's eyes. You understand? The paper seeming by related to poverty, related to based on from their malnutrition. So the paper seeming by the second, the one first girl who was tall with her weight down her, so totally yes, he was depressed. The second, the boy who was sitting, he was looking like a paper. That's why the paper seeming boy with the rat's eyes. His eyes are like rats. That's why, because he was lean and lanky, and of course that is from malnutrition. The next one, oh standard, the standard. Underline the word the standard here. The standard, that means lean and lanky. Another boy was sitting inside the classroom. The standard unlucky higher, we are saying that is as unfortunate. We are saying that is totally for all the children. This is unfortunate. That's why school going poor children, unfortunate children. So here we are taking that the standard, that means lean and lanky, the standard unlucky higher of twister bones. What is the meaning unlucky higher? Higher, here we are taking that successor, the follower, and next in the family line. He was a boy who was sitting inside the classroom, and he was just reciting his father's gnarled disease. The standard unlucky higher up twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, arthritis. What is the meaning? Arthritis. We are saying arthritis, this is related to inflammation of a joint or joints. We say that this is related to joint bones related. That's why he just inherited this disease from his father. And of course he was sitting inside the classroom and reciting the lessons. Of course father's now the disease, that's why his bones are like twisted. He was unable to walk very properly. That's why the standard, the lean and lanky, and of course he was considered as unlucky higher up twisted bones. He was reciting a father's knowledge disease, and of course his lessons from his desk. Not only lessons, but of course, but also reciting his father's knowledge disease. Here knowledge disease, you underline the word, that means related to arthritis, or we are saying that that is related to joint bones related disease, right? And of course, at back of the dim class, one unnoted, he was a sweet and young. There was another boy. He was very sweet. We are just considering that he was just sitting, and that there is another sweet boy sitting at the back of the class. And of course, he is not interested in learning the things, because there was no quality education. There was no interest, and that's why the teachers were not creating that interest. Of course, inadequate teachers facilities. That's why there was no quality education, and his eyes live in a dream of squirrels games. So here you can see that at back of the dim class, the classroom atmosphere totally dull and of course darkened. One like at back of the dim class, one a student was unnoted. He was sweet and young. We are looking at the boy. Here the poet is just describing, and his eyes live in a dream of squirrels game. So a squirrels game, that means he was not interested in teaching learning, and instead of learning the things from the class, he is just just looking or watching a squirrels game in tree room. Here tree room, we can also take that a small house like, or we can go for a hole in a tree and which is playing. So here the squirrels are playing in the tree room. Other than this, in the sense, apart from watching the things, he was not learning anything from the classes. The first stanza already we have discussed, that's why I just went very quickly, very fast. Then the second stanza you can see, and then he just comes to the second part. That means describing about the classroom. Then of course he already described about the students, those who are sitting in the classroom of a slum. Now he just comes to explain or describe the class. So on sour cream walls donations, yeah, on sour cream walls donations, Shakespeare said, clawless at dawn, civilized dawn riding all cities, bellflowery Triola's valley, open-ended map abiding the world, its world. And yet for these children, these windows not this map, their world, where all the future painted with fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, caves, and stars upwards. Now you can just see that the wall of the classroom. The walls of the classrooms are pale and dirty. That's why I already told you that was totally damaged, dull in color. So while looking at that, they will not get some pleasant ideas. That means that inducement. We are saying that some initiation, some interest, or we can also go for indulgence. So inside the classroom should be very comfortable. Then only that will give something to the children. So those who are sitting inside the classroom. That's why here, so on the walls, of course, so on sour cream, dull cream walls, and of course totally damaged, and of course with the cracked. So on sour dull cream walls, donations, like what is the meaning donations. So on these walls, many donated items have been put up. You can also see all those pictures whenever you visit, even in the government schools, or you can also go in slum areas, even headmaster's room, just to go and visit that. There should be like that donated things, of course, especially photos, portraits of some personalities. You can also go for Mother Teresa, or you can go for Vivekananda, you can go for something, you can also see Mahatma Gandhi or Subhasneda Desandra. You can also even Bharadiyar, you can Bharatidas, and even freedom fighters, even poetess. You can see many of them, even the peacemakers like. So donated pictures. That's why on these walls many donated items have been put up, especially Shakespeare's set. Now you can see what are the things are there. First one is Shakespeare's, and all those things, all those pictures represent the world of the rich and prosperous. You understand? For an example, Shakespeare. So there is a picture of Shakespeare on the wall, and of course, next you can see that the picture of the map also, and of course the domes of big cities represent the quality of life in those cities. Then of course the early morning sky is shown as colorless in another picture. too many things. First one, you can see that Shakespeare said. By looking at Shakespeare's image, we can also identify that they don't have connectivity to Shakespeare's. That means, they don't have connectivity with Shakespeare's image. That means, even Shakespeare's works, 37 plays in Shakespeare. So here, while looking at that, so on the sour cream walls, donations, like first one is Shakespeare's head, Shakespeare's image. Shakespeare is something immortal. We can also take the Shakespeare is immortal. That he is, of course, we are saying that we are considering Shakespeare is the father of English drama, and of course, he has even written two long narrative poems, and he is also considered as, like, poet. So, and 37 plays, those things are immortal, don't have, that end. That's why he's very famous. Everybody has to come across Shakespeare. Shakespeare is prosperous. Shakespeare is immortal. Nobody can say, we cannot say someone is immortal, but we can say Shakespeare is immortal because of his works. You understand that, because of his works. So here Shakespeare said, by looking at that, there is no connectivity with Shakespeare's things for them. And of course, next image is cloudless at dawn. Cloudless, the morning, early morning sky, and of course, civilized, rich buildings, dome ridings, all cities, big cities, or we can go for big cities or electronic cities, images, and of course, Triolus Valley. So Triolus Valley with bell flowery. You understand the beauty of the nature. Beauty of the nature, we can take that the beauty of the valley with all belled floweries, flowery images. That means, it's like, musical notes, and of course fragrance images, like all those things in the pictures, the top, everything. The next one is open-ended map awarding the world its world. And of course, there was a map of the world, which was prepared by the dictators, what is the meaning dictatorship, right? So open-ended map awarding the world its world, in the sense, inside in the world map, even they were, unable to find out their slum. This is their life. They were from poverty stricken. Nobody was there to take care of them. That's why even that map is a symbol of their life. That means, the world never considered the life. And yet, for these children, these windows, you can underline the word, these windows here, they are just mentioning that these windows, that means these windows, you underline the word, these a slum classroom. These windows means windows in the classroom. So when that is the world, that is the world. They knew that nothing. We can also go for that. And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world. You understand that? For them, the slum is their world, not the map, not this map. For them, the world map is their slum school, slum classroom, or they can go for there. We can also consider their class or their slum area, which is totally ruining their happiness and of course prosperous life. And their world where all the future painted with fog. Now you can understand that what he is trying to do, that something, totally the fog, or the fog is the fog of, you can also underline the word, the fog is the fog of hopelessness and of course hunger. They are all totally from our poverty stricken. That's why for them, that is the world, their world where all the futures painted with, that means covered with fog in the sense, fog of hopelessness and hunger, and of course inadequacy. We are saying that. So from the beginning, on sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare said, "Clawless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, bell flowery, Triolus Valley, open-ended map, awarding the world its world." And yet, for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, where all the futures painted with a fog, and of course a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. For considering, while considering, we can also see that the poet is considering the particular slum area is a narrow street. Of course it is, which is totally closed in. You can also have a closed bracket, sealed in, open and close. Sealed in means closed in with a lead sky. You underline the word lead sky means dull sky. So that is something, narrow. Their life is narrow, totally, restricted. Their life is restricted. That's why that should be in their narrow street, which is considered as narrow streets are slum area. A narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. That's why here he was considering that their life, and of course they are from far from rivers, caves, and of course stars of words. So here you can just have a close bracket, stars of words. That means, like stars of words. That means, like stars in the sky, which can't be touched, You can also underline that. So here, Rivers and capes, if you want, you can also write that rivers and capes means richness in the world. Richness in the world, you can write richness in the world. A narrow street sealed in with the lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. You understand? That's why here the poet Stephen Spender is coming to say that, and of course narrating their life are there. Even a slum child, his life is far, far from rivers, richness in the world, sophistication in the world, of course facilities in the world, rivers, and of course even the natural things. We can also take that, rich rivers, rich capes. Underline the word capes and right. Capes means headland, head, headland. And they are, it's like they cannot even touch, they cannot even dream of catching all those things. They can, dream of, visiting all those places, rich places, like reminding, the rest of the world they are enjoying. So here they are far, far from rivers, caves, and stars of birds. So here stars of birds. Now stars in the sky, which can't be touched. The life is like that. So totally everything is being ruined by inadequacy. That means, facilities, inadequacies, or you can write a sophistication. And coming to the third stanza, he's just stating that while seeing all these things, surely Shakespeare is picked. You understand? Already he saw that, and of course he described about Shakespeare's image, and of course all the map, all the, pictures inside the classroom. For them, surely Shakespeare is picked. No, we cannot say that. Shakespeare is picked. Shakespeare is immortal. No, he didn't he doesn't have anything. Something we can also take that. That means end. Everybody is coming across when you just Google. You can also identify that Shakespeare and 37 plays of Shakespeare. We can also go for Julius Caesar, and you can also go for Antony and Cleopatra. You can go for Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth, many things. 37 plays are rich in the world. The world of literature has to come across Shakespeare. But for them, there is quality things, and of course everything in his richness in his books. So yes, surely Shakespeare is big. The map, a bad example. You can also underline the word for them. The poet calls a portrait of Shakespeare wicked because there is no quality education in the schools of slum areas. You understand that? Well, here the poet is bringing Shakespeare's image for quality education. But in the slum areas, in the slum areas, especially in slum schools, we cannot say that there is quality education taking part. By looking at that, by looking at the classroom images, and of course classroom students images, everything is just justifying that. Surely for them Shakespeare is picked. What is the meaning vict? Underline the word vict and write that. Totally evilish, had devilish, no meaning for he is not a nobleman. For them they don't have connectivity with world of literature, and of course uh, Shakespeare and Shakespeare's rich works. So here you can write surely Shakespeare is picked. That means not noble. Or you can write devilish or evilish. For them no meaning. Shakespeare is no meaning for the slum children, those who are inside the classroom, and of course missing their quality education because they are from poverty stricken. And of course next one is the map, a bad example for them. That shows only dictatorship. For them it is like, I think we have seen a film Atipatti, and of course Citizen, and that movie Atipatti, which village, the particular village is not being mentioned in the world map, like, or we are taking that. So now you can see that. So the map, a bad example for them. The map, a bad example, because which is totally ruining their happiness. For them, their world map and everything is that slum school, slum area where they are living, where they are learning the things. And of course with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. You understand that the richness, you can underline the ships and of course sun, and of course love, and all the worldly things. You can also have a closed bracket with ships and sun and love, worldly things. All the things are tempting them to steal. You understand that for something they are longing for, the worldly things which the rest of the world is enjoying. All the children, the normal children, the sophisticated children, you understand that they are all enjoying all those things, but for them it is somewhat beyond the limit, beyond their expectation, beyond their imagination, beyond their dream. That's why here with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal. So something is inducing them to steal. They are longing for that, and of course for their lives that slightly turn in their cramped holes. You can also underline the. So for lives, that's slyly. You underline the word slyly. Slyly means maybe it's like, craftily, craftly, craftly, or something, artful. That means in a monotonous life, their monotonous life, for lives, for their life, for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes. Cramped holes, you can have a close to bracket. Cramped holes means they're small, congested houses. They're small, congested houses. It's like hutments. For lies that slyly, craftily, or artful, monotonous, turn in their cramped holes, like, small houses, congested houses in small area. From fog to endless nights. Here, fog to endless. That means, from generation wise generation, from morning to evening, from week beginning to weekend, from month end to month end, from year end, beginning to year end. That's why I'm saying that generation wise generation, they are just losing their life. They are being, totally ruined. That's why here, with ships and sun and love tempting them to steal for lives that slyly turn in their cramped holes, from fog to endless night. You understand that, from beginning to end, they have been living there for years, and of course they are just losing their bright future. Even they are just losing their dream. Even they are losing their quality education, and of course prosperous in their life, progress in their life. And on their slack heap, these children wear skins peeped through by bones and spectacles of steel, with mended glass like bottle bits and stones of all of the time and space of foggy slum. So blot their maps with the slum as because. So you can also see that on their slag, underline the word on their slag heaps. Slag heaps, you can underline the word. That means, wastage. Wastage, like, dump. We can also, it's like, mount. So on their slag heap, underline the word. It means, that is the mount, like, we came across from the lesson last spring, rack pickers, where, and they were working on the slag heaps. And of course these children wear skin, and these children wear skins peep through. You can underline the word. That means, they were from poverty stricken. That's why malnutrition, the due to due to malnutrition, and of course their body is like that. And of course here they wear skins peeped. So skins peeped through by bones and spectacles. That means they became, weak, and of course hunger. That's why while looking at their images, we will also identify that. I can also, there is a perpetual state of gloom and hunger and the despair. That's why while looking at them, we are also, they are very skinny and their bones are peeping out of their skins. This is what I'm trying to convey. That means, these children were, they were wearing like, so these children wear skins peep through. Underline the word peep through. That means, their bodies feel like garbage heaps, and they are very skinny. What is the meaning skinny or lanky, and of course lean and thin, and their bones are peeping out, so coming out. While looking at that, we can also say that, only we can say that, bones. That's all, bones. Paper seeming boy. That's why he, in the first stanza, he mentioned the paper seeming boy. So where skins peep through by bones and spectacles of steel with mended glass. So here they are very skinny and their bones are peeping out of their skins. And the state of poverty is intensified by the fact that the glasses which these children wear are cracked and look like broken pieces of bottle. You can, it's like bottle beats on stones. Now you can, and of course they were wearing, mented spectacles. That means, they don't have that much, proper adequate facilities, so that only they were just wearing. And of course here, mended glass, repaired one. While looking at the glass, we can also identify that they life like bottle bits on stones. You understand that? Up to that we can stop, and tomorrow we will resume.